brought some yarn with me today so that we could talk about some patterns because it is finally getting colder here. We are now in September, and that means it is time to talk about some fall knitting patterns. By the way, if you're new here, hi, hello, my name is Ev, and on this channel I like to talk all about knitting, spinning, and fiber related content, and if that's your cup of tea, I hope you stick around. And today we're going to be talking about some patterns that I hope to cast on this fall, some patterns that have been kind of spinning around in my mind, and just some of the yarns that I hope to use for these patterns. Now, I have way more on this list than I would be able to knit in the 3 months that fall is, but I'm pretty sure that some of these are going to trickle on into winter, and I'm also open to changes. This is just what is really exciting me right now with the cold coming in. Today I am wearing my petite knit Cumulus blouse. This was knit up in 2 strands of a lace alpaca held together from Kensington Prairie Farm. Now, they do not make this yarn anymore. Sadly, every time I show this sweater or my Elizabeth blouse, people ask me where it comes from, a discontinued yarn. But it is 100% baby alpaca, and I knit this one last year when I went to Turkey. It has a really nice memory for me, but it's also one of my favorite knits. It's just so comfy and nice to wear. If I ever get the motivation again to knit this knit, I will. I want to knit it up again. It's just a really long knit because it's on really small needles. So it takes patience, but it is well worth it. So this is the Cumulus tee by Petite Knit. She also has the Cumulus blouse, that is true. But I knit the tee with longer sleeves. As always, I will be linking all of these patterns in the description box down below. So if you're curious about any of the patterns that I'm mentioning, be sure to check that out, and all of the yarns and materials will also be listed down below. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at my phone a little bit. Sorry about that, but the names and the words. The first pattern that I want to talk to you guys about is actually one that I've discussed and shown you guys in my, I think it was like the Dream Colorwork sweater video that I did at the beginning of the year. I'm still really vibing with colorwork right now, and I knew that a lot of those patterns wouldn't get done when I posted that video, and they would be more or less a long-term commitment. The first one comes from that video, which is actually the jean sweater by Johanna Gerich. And this was a pattern that was released in August of 2024. This is a pattern that uses 2 different colors for 2 different textures. I really, really like that. I find that really genius to have the lace knit be the pink and then the red be the garter stitch rib to really split off the sections. I really like the original look of the sweater, the pink and the red. I just think for me personally, that's a little bit too bright. It's a little bit too punchy and too wah. I remember mentioning that I was thinking about maybe using this yarn for this particular sweater, or there was another sweater in the mix, but I finally decided. So for my jean sweater, I'm going to be using America by Patrick Knits. It is 100% American Rambouillet. I bought this yarn in Montreal when I visited in March. Since then, I've been able to come up with the rest of the sweater color work. Because the pattern calls for a light fingering and a mohair, I'm going to be using this yellow for the garter stitch section. And I'm going to be holding it with this lovely yellow. This is a bit more of a mustard yellow, and I wanted to make it even more kind of burnt mustard yellow. I really, really like this yellow. It is 54% baby alpaca, 36% tencel, and 10% merino. So I'm thinking about holding these 2 together for the red in the original sweater, along with this Elderflower shade of Knitting for Olive Merino. Alongside with this one, I'm hoping to hold it with some Tin Silk Mohair, which is from Sandnes Garn, and this one is, if I can find it on the label, yes, 57% mohair, 28% silk, and 15% wool. Oh, I was reading the other language, not the English one. I'm really surprised how close these colors are. I didn't want to go with the Knitting for Olive mohair because that's a little bit thinner of a mohair. Since the Tin Silk has wool in it, it's just a little bit thicker, and I thought that that would better pair off with this kind of mohair wool. It's alpaca, but it's just a little bit thicker than your traditional mohair. So I thought that these 4 shades would work really well together. This is definitely going to be a much brighter, lighter, just more whimsical sweater than I'm used to, but I think with a nice pair of jeans, this is gonna look, I mean, it is called the jean sweater, but I think that this is gonna look really, really fun. This could even become like a spring sweater because it is yellow and white. It's much more lighter colors than the traditional, more brown kind of, I've been going really with this blue, which is more petrol, but it's still like a deeper shade. This is just gonna be a light pop of color. I'm really interested to see how the pattern works up because it is a round yoke, it is knit top down, and it is a traditional raglan sweater, but there's no like raglan seam. It's just like a round, like the wave goes all the way around. So I'm really interested to see how this pattern knits up. This will be my first pattern from this designer. I have a gift knit that I need to knit, torn between 2 patterns because it all depends on the yarn, and I plan on getting this yarn at Knit City. So that is one that I'm going to be on the hunt for in the next, like in 2 weeks, that I'm going to be searching for. And I am torn between the vest number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear and the Novice Slipover by Petite Knit. This is going to be a knit for my sister. She doesn't normally watch these videos, so I can talk about it here with you guys and you guys can help me choose. But I'm really torn between these 2. She knows that I'm going to be making her a sweater vest and her birthday is in September. I'm not going to see her till the holidays, so this gives me time. It's going to be a late birthday present, but this also gives me time to knit and choose the yarn. She basically just asked me for a sweater vest with a round yoke. Very simple, not a v-neck, not too big. She does want it a little bit oversized, but she doesn't want just like a simple sweater vest. She gave me her color analysis palette, so I'm going to be using that at Knit City to figure out what yarn shade to use. She is a spring, I think, like me, but she's blonde, so that plays a little bit different on, I forget if she's, because there's like different tiers in spring. There's like early spring, late spring, or warm spring, cool spring. I forget. Essentially, she's a spring as well. So I know her color palette. And now it's to choose the yarn. The sweater vests are relatively similar. I've never knit either of them, but here are the main differences between the 2. The Petite Knit Novice Slipover is a DK weight plus a lace weight, which makes an Aran weight. It calls for 600 to 1203 yards. It uses US 8 5mm and US 7 4.5mm. The armhole does seem to go a little bit lower, and it seems to have a bit of a smaller rib all around. It seems to be just like a regular sweater length, so it's not a cropped sweater vest and it's not like a really long one, and it just seems like a very clean, elegant look. Then the vest number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear is a DK weight plus a lace weight, which then creates worsted weight. This one has a little bit bigger of a collar rib, and same with the sleeves. It does seem to go a little bit more over the shoulder, where the Petite Knit one is just a little bit smaller of a shoulder arm strap. I really like the Petite Knit, like she's wearing it in a light colored wool, and the My Favorite Things Knitwear, hers in that like dark gray charcoal is beautiful and stunning with a white blouse. Those are the main differences. So again, they're very similar, just 2 different yardage and just small little finishing techniques that are a little bit different, small little details that are thicker, thinner, and it's just really depends. I guess I'm going to be bringing both of these patterns with me, and then I'm going to have to choose at Knit City between the 2. I think that is my goal, and then once that happens, I need to cast this on and knit it on right away and get it done. And then because she lives in the States, I am not shipping to the States anymore because I had to mail something last week and the duties, and it's just such a complicated process now. You need to download an app. I'm not going to be mailing her this gift. So it gives me a little bit more leeway. I'm really excited to knit this for her. And even though she knows this is coming potentially, she doesn't know when, but I'm really glad that I was able to ask her exactly what she wanted, because now I know she's gonna love it. even more instead of me guessing what she would want and then knitting it for her. Recently, I've been wanting to try a little bit more of home decor knitting or just knitting for the home because I have a couple of one-off skeins that I don't really know what to do with, or just yarn that I'm not going to knit in a sweater either because it's a little bit too rough for my feeling, but it would be totally fine as decoration purposes. And I've really been considering some of Petite Knit's pillows. The two that I'm kind of contemplating are the Technicolor pillow. I love the design. Ever since I did the Technicolor pouch for my boyfriend's mom, I made her a little, like, the zipper pouch. It's super cute and it was actually a really fun knit. And I've also been contemplating doing the Marie pillow. I think I saw Knit Hip Hooray, and I really, really love her pillow. I thought it was super cute. So now I'm kind of torn between both pillows. So I got a bunch of yarn to kind of figure out which one I'm gonna do, because I have two of these white pillows that desperately need a new cover. They are not really white anymore. I mean, I've had them for 5 years. They're not as white as they used to be, and I've realized it says do not machine wash. They're not washable covers, which is really stupid. So I'm gonna be knitting some new covers. That's what I'm gonna do. Now, I think I know which pillow I'm gonna go with, simply because there is also the Technicolor tote. If I knit the Technicolor pillow and then knit the Technicolor tote, that's a lot of Technicolor, and I worry I'm gonna get bored of that particular pattern or that particular design. I have two pillows, but if I knit the Marie pillow and I knit the Technicolor tote, those are completely different projects, but I'm gonna be working both. I just don't want two pillows of different textures on the same couch. That could be cute, but I want both pillows to be the same because right now both pillows are white. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knit the Technicolor tote and then also the Marie pillow. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So what I've been thinking for the Marie pillow is Donna Fibra Natura. Now this is Merino. This was Merino from Turkey, and I actually used this in a previous project. I have 2 skeins left from that. So these run you 115 meters. And along that, I'm gonna be using another Turkish wool. Now this is one that my boyfriend's mom brought me, but this is Gazal XL baby wool. It is 109 meters the yard. This one is 40% acrylic, 20% cashmere type, and 40% merino wool. So I think these two in the Marie pillow would be stunning. This is going to be a very deep contrast, but again, this was actually the yarn combination, if I remember correctly, I used for this pattern. I just have a few skeins left, so why not knit a pillow with this, because it's not enough for a sweater or any other thing. I don't know, could be fun for a pillow. The Marie pillow is a pattern from June 2022. It calls for a DK weight yarn and it uses only 246 to 324 yards. It really doesn't use that much yarn on US 2.5 to 3 millimeter needles. So this is very small needles for a pretty thick yarn weight for a DK weight yarn, but I think it's because the pillow, you need it to be like pretty firm. You don't want a loosey-goosey floppy pillow. You'd want like a thicker material than like your typical sweater. Now the reason why this pillow doesn't use up that much yarn is because you only knit the front flap. I'm gonna have to figure out how to sew the back, but essentially you use a fabric as the back panel. So this should technically save me time. I mean, it's gonna be a small stitch, like a small gauge knit, but you're only knitting one fabric. I'm gonna be knitting 2 because I need 2 pillows, but essentially this should more or less be a pretty relatively easy pattern to use. Whereas the Technicolor tote, it's a bag, so you're gonna be knitting all around, but it is a pattern from August 2021, calls for DK weight. It uses US 11, 8 millimeter needles, so it's definitely a faster knit, and it uses 945 yards. It is a one size pattern. I really love the Technicolor. When I knit up the pouch, it's that you hold 3 strands of color work, like 3 strands of colored yarn together, and you're always kind of switching one to get this kind of like more gradient color change between the colors, because you're continuously holding different strands, like 3 different strands. So it's a really smart way to work up a color work, very different. So for this one, I'm going to be using colors that are relatively similar to hers. I do need to cake all of these up, and I need to split them up into smaller yarns because, again, you're going to be holding 3 strands together. So you need 3 of each color to swap around. So I have a couple of these, but this is going to be my color palette. Now this is all 100% wool. So this is a wool that I got from Longway Homestead. I don't remember what it was, but it's just like a white wool. I have some 100% American wool right here, burnt sienna, that I bought in Buffalo when I visited my sister. I have some Rustic Heather Sport. This is from Rustic Heather Sport. Who's making this one? I'm gonna put the name right there. And then I got this one. This is a jumbo skein. I have no idea what this fiber content is. I don't know. I got this in a raffle at Knit City 2-3 years ago, and I've never used it because it's kind of like a rustic wool. But again, I have no idea how many yards there are in here. I have no idea what this wool is. And I think that these 4 colorways, I have more of all of these yarns, but I think that these 4 colors are gonna be super fun together, and my tote is gonna be really, really cute. So this is what I'm gonna be using for my Technicolor tote. And I think that that's gonna be better than knitting the Technicolor pillows and then a Technicolor tote. I've been wanting the Technicolor tote ever since Tiffany Lou made hers back in 2021. I think she made it when the pattern was first released. So I've been wanting to make one since then. I just didn't have the yarn for it. And last year making the tote, making the little pouch, it's such a fun pattern. It's a genius way to work up color work. So I'm really excited to do that one. I've also been searching for a couple of patterns to knit up that aren't your typical sweaters, because it's nice and all to make sweaters and shirts, but sometimes I want to knit home decor as well and just knit smaller things that I can use and like pair with my knits. Well, a pillow, you can't pair it with your knit, but whoever comes over my house will see my hand knit pillows. Sorry, I have coffee on my lips. But now that we've been talking about petite knit quite a lot, another pattern of hers that I really want to knit up and I think would be great for the winter fall is actually her cloud sweater. This is the pattern from January 2024, and honestly, right now I see a lot of seaside vibes. I think sailor vibes, the sardines are very trendy, and I feel like this sweater, without it being a traditional fisherman cable, is perfect for the seaside. It gives off boat vibes to me, and it gives off like really, you just threw it on and just you're cozy and warm, and I really, really want it. I also really like the round unfinished raw edge of the curl of the collar, but then at the same time there is a little bit of a design right below it. It's kind of like a little bit of a rib before the collar folds over. Same thing with the sleeves and the bottom of the sweater. I find this really cute, and I've been noticing this kind of finishing technique show up a little bit more in recent designs. So I really want to knit this one, and I think if I was to knit it, I don't have yarn for it, but I would most likely knit it in a light creme like her. It is a more simple stockinette knit, but I've been knitting a lot of cables, and if I'm going to be knitting this one, I'm gonna need a more simple stockinette knit to have on the side to then just alternate between, because this one, I'm feeling the chart's gonna be complicated. We're gonna see. Hopefully it's one that I can memorize. Lace, I'm not that big into lace knitting, so we'll see how this one goes, but essentially I think that this knit would be a perfect knit to have on the side alongside with this one. So this pattern calls for an Aran weight held with a lightweight, so it creates a bulky weight yarn. So it's definitely a much faster knit, a much thicker knit, and it uses US 7 4.5 millimeter needles. So it calls for 957 to 1640 yards, or 875 meters to 1500 meters. So it doesn't call for too much yarn, and I'm most likely going to be knitting the small. With petite knit, I usually opt to knit the small, so I'll be on the lower end of the yarn usage. Another one that is on my list that recently came out, and I also do not have yarn for, is the Junko Okamoto, the Pogo Sweater. I love her knits, and this one is also giving me those sailor vibes. It's also giving me that warm, like it's freezing outside, but you're okay because you have your really chunky sweater and you're watching Gilmore Girls with a hot chocolate vibe. I love this one. And if I was to do it, I want to do it in her exact color palette. The little light baby pink and the light baby blue speak out to me. And I just love the crisscross design. I find it really pretty. I've never knit her patterns before. I still haven't, but her patterns keep showing up on these podcasts because I really like the design. My only thing is this calls for an Aran weight, uses US 8 5 millimeter or US 6 4 millimeter. It calls for 1377 meters to 1830 meters. This is why I've never knit her patterns before. It uses a really thick yarn with a lot of yarn. They're really oversized sweaters. I just do not have that yarn in my stash. I've never bought that much yarn for a sweater. I don't think that much meterage. I don't know. That's the only thing. I really, really want to knit them, but I've never actually put the purchase in for the yarn quantity for those sweaters, because it's not just like a sweater quantity of yarn that I'm gonna have in my stash. Most of her sweaters have colorways and have very specific color yardage requirements. Maybe at Knit City this year, I can finally buy some chunky wools, a nice Aran weight for the sweater. I'm realizing a lot of the sweaters that I want to cast on right now are pretty chunky. Interesting. I then have a much lighter, softer, cuter sweater vest, but this one I really love it because of the bow. I'm really into bows. I really like lacy, not lacy, but just like dainty little fun accessories to your knits. And this one in this green colorway screams Ev. I don't know, I've been really into like this matcha apple green lately, and I think it's just my color of the year maybe. This is the Obsidian Slipover by Sophia Scottful, and I, again, really like it. This is a vest from May 2025, and it uses a lace and a sport weight yarn held together, which creates a worsted. So again, a little bit of a thicker weight. I'm going out of my fingering and sport weight ways and into some more thicker knits, which could be really fun. This one uses US 8 5 millimeter and US 6 4 millimeter, and it only uses 600 to 800 meters because there's no sleeves, there's no chunky collar. It's gonna be a much simpler slipover idea. I did show this one to my sister, and she sadly does not like the bow. She really wants the simple slipover, so that's what I'm gonna do for her. But for me, it would be really cute to have a little cute bow slipover. I also love the simple, instead of having a rib armhole or a rib collar, it's a double knit, so it just adds to the cleanliness, and this simplifies the whole look so that the bow really pops up at the front without being too bright. Again, if I'm doing this, I want to find a green like this. Right now, currently, I do not have this green in my wardrobe or in my yarn stash. I mean, I have it in my wardrobe because I knit the blouse number 1 in this green, but I do not have a yarn for this one in this colorway. I would have enough for a white, but I feel like a white would be too angelic because this is a very light mohairy already. The bow, it's just gonna look like a little angel child, and I think a pop of green would be better. That is true, I've completely skipped. I have one more petite knit design on this list, and that is because it is one that I've already knit, and it is not a knit for me. This would be a gift knit. My boyfriend wants the Dagmar zipper. I made it for myself last year, and it's a really big oversized sweater, and it was so big and oversized, it's probably the loosest sweater I have in my wardrobe, and that's just the design of the sweater. But I made him try it just to see if it fit him, and it fit him, and that was a mistake because now he's asking for one. And I just thought, wait a minute, like it's a lot of work, but how adorable would it be if we both had Dagmar matching sweaters. There is a men's zipper sweater, but he kind of likes the shoulder construction on the women's. So I'm going to be knitting. He wants the exact same sweater, just slightly bigger. So I'm going to be knitting it again for him in the next size up. I'm going to make the sleeves longer and make the body longer. Those are the only modifications I'm going to make, but he wants my version, like my sweater, just copy paste. So that is what I'm going to do for him. And that is why the Dagmar zipper sweater is on my list. Now, for me, it took me 5 months or 6 months to knit up that sweater. That was a labor of love, and sewing a zipper is always a challenge. So to do it all over again, I've been considering this one since June. I haven't bought the yarn yet. I'm gonna go buy it, but it's gonna be a long project, a long haul, but I'm really excited to knit this one up for him. And again, I won't be doing the men's version because there is a men's version. The only difference is between the men's and the women, from my understanding, is someone asked what the difference was, and Petite Knit wrote back, the men doesn't have the shoulder short rows, whereas the women's pattern does. I'm going to be knitting it with the short rows. That's just the one he likes. But for example, the design wraps around, which I don't know if that's a normal thing. Do men's knitwear just not have short rows on the shoulders? Do they not have shoulder shaping? Because why not? They have shoulders too. Is it because they have broader shoulders? Either way, I'm going to be knitting the women's version because I have that pattern, and I'm not going to be buying this pattern twice just to remove short rows. And he liked it this way, so why complicate things? So yes, I'm going to be knitting another Dagmar, and I think I'm going to be doing it again in the same yarn. I had used this yarn for my version of the Dagmar, so this is the Serrano by Ravelry Natura. This one was in the color Merlot. Now, I won't be knitting it in the exact same colorway. I think for him, a nice brown or green would be really, really nice. I'm not going to be doing it in black. He asked for black, and I said no. You're already making me knit a very complicated sweater, very chunky, like it took me really long. I am not doing this in black. He's so funny. Because it has been popping all over Instagram, and I really, really want this one. I think this might be my trendy pattern for this video, and it is actually the 6 of Daisies cardigan by Lindsay Deacon. This one is also a bulky weight cardigan, so here you guys can sense the vibe, the chunky knit vibe. This one calls for just a bulky weight held alone on US 5 3.75 millimeters or US 7 4.5 millimeters. It is a colorwork design. It uses intarsia, but then also, if I saw someone else knitting it, and this one, she said that it was a bit confusing because it uses intarsia. It uses intarsia, and then it also uses, what is the other one? Stranded color work. So it uses both, and it can be a little bit confusing because some areas, I guess, you will have floats, and some areas you won't. You're going to be breaking up the yarn and having it on the little bobbins. We'll see. It is a really cute design. I just love the flowers, and I love how the two flowers kind of connect and are upside down from one another with a very simple, like, geometric leaf design. It's a very pleasing, comfy V-neck cardigan. I really like it. If I was to make this one, I think I would probably do it in one of the sample options, which was the brown with the kind of beige creme flowers. I just find that really pretty, and because it is such a fun flowery design, I'd want a more muted tone just to keep it together a little bit more. I'm also realizing this is another color work. I'm really living in a little color work world right now. It's very exciting. I then have the Traveler shawl on my list, but that all depends on, I'm currently working on some yarn, spinning it up. I hope to show it to you guys really, really soon. I actually could show you a bobbin because it is spun up. The yarn that I'm hoping to use for my Traveler shawl is some Haunui wool. This was actually the colorway for Fiber West this year. This was from Brambles Ridge, and it is the Price of Egg. That is the colorway that she did, and this was all wool from New Zealand. It is their 100% Haunui wool. It's spun up like butter. This is spinning up so well. And what I'm thinking to do with this one is spin it into a 3-ply, but because I only had one braid, I'm gonna be using 2 other braids of a different wool, kind of like in a similar color palette. It's a Rambouillet, similar palette vibes. Hopefully the 3 strands can all blend in together and look really nice. This is gonna be the first time that I'm spinning different fibers together in one yarn, but also different dyers together in one yarn. I've never done that before. I really hope to show you guys this once it is done, but that is what I want to use for Andrea Mowry's Traveler shawl. I've knit the Traveler cowl last year, again with Handspun yarn. That one was from Sweet Georgia, which is a local fiber dyer here in Vancouver. If you guys don't know about Sweet Georgia, I highly recommend you check them out. They also have the Sweet Georgia School, and they have podcasts on YouTube, and then they also do weaving. So it's a really good place for resources, but their colors are really stunning as well. The Traveler shawl by Andrea Mowry is knit up using a sport weight yarn, and it uses 830 yards to 1200 meters. One thing that I really like about Andrea Mowry and her patterns is they are perfect for hand spinners because she is a hand spinner. She uses a lot of spin cycle yarns, but she will also knit her knits and design her patterns with the mind of a spinner so that you can kind of always designs. What I'm trying to say is in her designs, she does consider like hand spinners and how hand spinning yarns aren't as like even and as perfect as, let's say, a Knitting for Olive Merino, which was from a mill, which was from a supplier. It depends on the hand spinner and their level of experience. But yeah, hand spinning, it's a little bit more, the yarns can be a little bit more fun and have a little bit more personality, if you know what I mean. But also she does her designs with a lot of bright colors. Again, because she's a hand spinner, she hand spins a lot of fun bright colors. That is the last pattern on my list right now. I then have 2 other yarns that I really want to knit up, and these are yarns that I spun up myself. The first one is this Icelandic wool. This is a single plied loopy, and I'm realizing I never washed it since I spun it. Uh-oh. Is that gonna, I think it'll be fine. But this is a single ply loopy. This is my first Icelandic wool, and it was with Muga silk. This was a bat from Melly Knits that I bought at Fiber West because she really convinced me to try spinning my hand spun, like try spinning a loopy yarn. I spun 2 loopy yarns during Tour de Fleece. This is the second one. This one did end up being a little bit thicker of a gauge. What I want to do with this one is socks, because Melissa from Melly Knits says that she loves to use single plied loopy for socks. Apparently it withstands for her better than a sock yarn does. I wonder what it is, if it's the really long staple length. I'm really curious because this is more like it feels more sheepy. Would it be nice on my feet? Oh, that's actually nice on the foot. It feels more sheepy, so I'm really interested to see how this exactly would knit up in a sock held alone, how it would last. Because I feel like this would felt or like tear. I don't know, but she swears by using loopy yarns, Icelandic wools for socks. So she has me curious. So this is what I'm going to be using this yarn for. I need to wash it and measure, but I'm pretty sure I have enough for a pair of socks because it was 100 grams. Then I have, this one is also from Melly Knits, just a random coincidence, but I've talked about this one a little bit before on this channel. This was the fiber date, speed date that she did for the Blossom Anniversary subscription club. I'm part of her subscription club, so you get a bat in the mail every 2 months. This was the anniversary subscription club. This was 5 mini fibers to spin up, all with the same base fiber, but then just alternating. Like this one, the brown was with Merino, the gray was with Shetland, the lighter gray was Gotland, one of them was just the burn pile alone, and then another one was with Camel. So these are the 5 all skeined up together. And what I hope to knit with this is actually a scarf. I'm gonna be just casting on, designing my own very simple scarf, but I want it to be like all of the fibers like in their own separate chunks, and then we can actually see what exactly these combinations spin up into and how they feel, because the yarns all have the same base, they all have the burn pile, but they do still feel differently. They spun kind of differently depending on what fiber was combined with it. Now, I forgot, these all do have silk in them, sari silk. So that is what gives it the fun little cotton candy pops of color. It's just some nice, lovely little silk added. So this scarf is probably one of the next knits that I'm going to be casting on, but because it didn't have a pattern, I just thought to add it at the end of the video. So again, these are my kind of inspirations going into the fall. These are the kind of patterns that I'm going to be knitting up. Let me know in the comment section if you are thinking about knitting any of these patterns, what you're kind of going to be knitting or starting up, casting on really soon for the fall. If you're excited as well, I'm really curious. And this list might change as patterns come and go, just like my maple meadow cardigan that I'm currently knitting. I didn't know I was going to be a part of that test knit at the beginning of August, so that one was just like a spur of the moment cast-ons. I am leaving myself room for that. We're going to see after Knit City as well, because going to a fiber convention, seeing people in their knits out will most likely motivate me and give me ideas for new patterns to cast on and knit up, and just the yarn choices that they're gonna have there. That's where I'm gonna do a big bulk of my yarn buying for the year. So all that being said, this list will most likely change. Things will be added and removed. It's a good starting point, I feel, and this is way more than I could ever knit in the 3 months of fall. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comment section down below what you've been knitting on as I've been talking. What are your fall plans for this year, knitting wise, crochet wise? Maybe you can motivate me to change my idea, or let me know if you're going to be knitting the same patterns I am. Maybe we can knit them together. Maybe you could join the Discord group and share your progress along the way, as many others do. And if not, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're having a beautiful day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!